I get off work at midnight, and most of the time I drive the same route home, but this night I swung by a late-night convenience store, so I took a back way home. It was 12:15 or a little later in my town. They roll up the sidewalks at dark, so it was dead. Just the store clerk and I are still up. On the back way home, there aren't a lot of houses. One side of the road is mostly cornfield, and the other is a forest. Since it was summer and a lovely balmy night, I had all the windows down and wasn't driving particularly fast when I heard this frightening scream, someone in trouble. I slammed on the brakes and stopped by the side of the road, the forest to my right, and listened. And there it was again, a woman's voice screaming from the woods. She was yelling for help. I got out of the car and yelled, "Where are you?" The woman responded, "I'm here, please help me." It was a crying voice. Without thinking, I pushed branches aside and made my way into the forest. I was calling out again and again, "Where are you?" She kept screaming, "Help!" every few seconds. I kept moving in that direction, pushing my way through the brush. Then it seemed I wasn't getting any closer to the woman. The voice, too, kept moving deeper and deeper into the forest. The cry was always the same distance off. I'd yell to her, and a few seconds later she'd cry for help. I froze in my steps at this point. I didn't like the feeling that came down upon me. I was walking into a trap of some kind. I retraced my steps, pushing the brush aside and running back to my car. I could see the headlights through the trees as I got closer to the road, and at the same time I could hear the woman crying. And no matter how fast I went, she was the same distance behind me. I was being chased. I got into my car, breathing hard, started the engine, and drove out of there as fast as I could. I was totally creeped out as I punched 911 on my cell phone. I wasn't sure if they would believe me, but they did say they would send a trooper to investigate. The next day I told my mom and dad the story of the night drive home and the terrifying experience in the forest. 2 days later, a hunter training his dog found a woman's body in her mid-30s in the woods near the road, where I heard the screams for help. The newspaper reported that there was no evidence of a homicide or anything. What killed her, or how she died, remains a mystery. When my sister Betsy and I were kids, our family lived for a while in a charming old farmhouse. We loved exploring its dusty corners and climbing the apple tree in the backyard. But our favorite thing was the ghost. We called her Mother because she seemed so kind and nurturing. Some mornings, Betsy and I would wake up, and on each of our nightstands, we'd find a cup that hadn't been there the night before. Mother had left them there, worried that we'd get thirsty during the night. She just wanted to take care of us. Among the home's original furnishings was an antique wooden chair which we kept against the back wall of the living room. Whenever we were preoccupied, watching TV or playing a game, Mother would inch that chair forward across the room toward us. Sometimes she'd manage to move it all the way to the center of the room. We always felt sad putting it back against the wall. Mother just wanted to be near us. Years later, long after we'd moved out, I found an old newspaper article about the farmhouse's original occupant, a widow. She'd murdered her 2 children by giving them each a cup of poisoned milk before bed. Then she hung herself. The article included a photo of the farmhouse's living room with a woman's body hanging from a beam. Beneath her, knocked over, was that old wooden chair, placed exactly in the center of the room. As a child, I was pretty dedicated to my fitness routine. My daily regimen included long walks around my neighborhood, which I used as my primary form of cardio. I would walk for hours each day, enjoying the physical activity and the freedom it gave me. During these walks, I often wore tight clothes that showcased my well-toned muscles, the result of my dedication to exercise. During one of these walks, I first noticed a peculiar person, a very old woman, who seemed to be staring at me. At first, I dismissed it, thinking she was simply curious or admiring my physique. However, I noticed this old woman more frequently as the days turned into weeks. Each time I saw her, she was sitting in a portable chair that could fold up, and each time she seemed to be a little closer to the path where I walked. Her stares became more intense, and an uneasy feeling crept over me. It was as if she silently followed my every move from her chair, One day, things took a stranger turn. As I walked past her, she started whispering weird things. The whispers were faint, almost inaudible, but they sent chills down my spine. I couldn't make out what she was saying, but the tone was unsettling. This continued for a while, adding a mysterious and eerie element to my daily walks. Eventually, her whispers became clear enough for me to understand. She was trying to tell me to get closer to her. Each day, her chair would be positioned a little closer until one day it was directly in my path. I could see the unnerving look in her eyes and hear her words distinctly. "Come closer," she said in a raspy voice. "I have something to show you." Being a naive kid, I foolishly asked, "What is it?" She responded with the creepiest giggle, "My collection, dear." She paused after that. The pause and her intense stare set an even deeper unease within me. "Come closer, dear," she repeated. The idea of getting closer to her terrified me. I felt an overwhelming fear that she might grab me and do something really scary. Panicked, I knew I had to find a way to escape her grasp. I started taking different routes and varying my walking times to avoid her. Despite my efforts, the fear of encountering her again haunted me. The thought of her grabbing me and what might happen next was too much to bear. I never told anyone about these encounters, but they haunted my memories. I moved out of that neighborhood long ago, hoping to leave the strange, creepy experiences behind. Even now, the memory of that old woman, her intense stares, and the eerie whispers still linger in my mind, leaving me with a sense of unease and wonder about what it all meant. Years later, I stumbled upon a news report that sent a shiver down my spine. The old woman had been caught and arrested. She had kidnapped a person, and authorities believed she had planned to kidnap others. I realized then how lucky I had been to escape her grasp. The thought that I could have been one of her victims still sends chills through me. I was the lucky one who got away.